Hello, dear viewer. If you are new here, welcome in. And if you aren't, well, today we're doing something a little different. We are still world building, but I wanted to make something in a game instead of drawing. We're testing out two methods of world building that I found in these two videos. Build a fantasy town in D&D by Loot Goblin Marketplace, and creating a fantasy town in Dungeons & Dragons 5e by DungeonDudestps. So, grab your beverage of choice, get cozy, and let's delve into the tips they have shared and attempt to create a village map and some scenes to run in a campaign using Tiny Glade. Sometimes, drawing can be very overwhelming, and I have been wanting to try different ways to create maps and scenes, and I also have Tiny Glade, a cozy sandbox diorama builder. I want to explore more programs and games that can create scenes and maps for RPGs alongside building my own world. Allow me to introduce myself. Hello there, I'm Nina, and I am endeavoring to learn all there is about world building and TTRPG games. If you can relate, like this video and subscribe to stay connected. Let's get started. The setup. First off, we need to consider some things about working inside Tiny Glade. There is a sun and moon that rotates around the glade, and that means there is lighting angles to consider and working with shadows. I like to put in some buildings and see what the best shadow and lighting angle is. Once I find an angle I like, I make a little marker as a reference point. So, what is the point of a village? In this video by the Dungeon Dudes, they state that the purpose for a fantasy village is to have a safe haven to go to after going on a quest or completing a dungeon, as well as the start for the game. It is a place for a short or a long rest, to gather information or find new quests, as well as shopping, selling loot, and basically being a place to have some downtime. One of the first things the players might want to search for when entering a new village is an inn. So, let's build an inn. I'm learning that there are different ways you can approach a village and have different things happen in it. For example, this village will be specifically for downtime, and if this village is a place the players will return to, then you could make it a hometown, a place that grounds them to the world. It can turn into something worth fighting for, something they can care about, and that encourages exploration. And they can get attached to it. Make it so that they feel something if anything nefarious were to happen to it. Villages usually come about because there is a specific resource that people can obtain in that area. Then they can process it and distribute the product. Some villages can also just be a transitory spot, a place where adventurers can eat and sleep, and that is the good that is being provided in the area. The village can be in different stages of its own life as well. It could be a brand new town, missing specific or certain resources. It could be a bustling town where nothing has changed in years. Or a town that's headed to total collapse, a ghost town, or just ruins. I also like to think that villagers themselves can influence the structure of the town. Like a town full of wizards might have places you can only reach by using magic, or will have special events or items that are specific to enchanting or enhancing magic. I can think of a town of artists, or witches, or a military town, for example, or one built by clowns or gothic mall rats. I want to think about what would those kinds of villages look like, and oftentimes they probably won't look anything like what you would imagine in a medieval scenario, for example. The next thing I want to build is the marketplace, and at this moment, while I was building in Tiny Glade, was a perfect moment to demonstrate what verisimilitude is. Basically, it's a fancy word for believable. It means the quality or state of having the appearance of truth or depicting realism. And this is a great example because if you look at this little market that I was building, 5 little stalls, and you would compare it to the inn that I was building, which is pretty grandiose and would have a big family area, assuming, and also it would have plenty of space for a lot of guests. You would kind of, when you really think about it, you wouldn't really assume that a market this small would be able to support a inn that is so big. And so what I decided to do is take it apart, as you're seeing right now, and try and make it bigger and better and make it look like, okay, well, can this market support an inn that big? And we're not even taking into consideration all the other village buildings that are inside of this space. So definitely verisimilitude is very important when building believable spaces. And kind of aligned with the verisimilitude is the G.U.A.R.D.S method, which was explained by the video from Loot Goblin Marketplace. It's an acronym that is G for government buildings, which could be a town hall, a jail, a town watch. U for underworld, which is like crime or secret things that are happening under the world. You also have A for altar, which is religion, so it could be a church or a shrine. R, which is resources, like a marketplace, apothecary, smithies, a well and river, a food market, an alchemy lab, and a library, for example. D stands for downtime, which is sleeping. We need a place for our adventurers to sleep. We also need places for villagers to sleep. And the last one is S for social hub, which is a tavern, a town hall, a pub. I was also thinking a theater or places where our villagers would typically want to go and celebrate a festival, for example. Making sure that we have all of these buildings and we're considering all these different types of necessary things that need to happen within a village will help with the believability and also allowing our players to be able to become attached to a place because it is something believable, because it has its own characteristics and its own specialness that keeps it worth fighting for. Also, just another little thing to point out is that this is a downtime, hometown style village. If you don't want a village to be a safe haven and would allow space for combat, then you should apply the disciplines of dungeon design into the village, which could be something that I could talk about or build in a different episode. Please let me know if you like this kind of content and I will continue making it. So yeah, back to it. All right, so we have officially built an inn for our adventurers, and we have a marketplace for the villagers and the adventurers to stock up on stuff. That accomplishes the D for downtime in G.U.A.R.D.S and the R for resources. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bulk up the rest of the village and just add some buildings here and try and just add more people into our little village. So there are 3 other points that are not mentioned here, but that I found while trying to learn how to make a good village or a believable village. And they are climate, economy, and color palette. Actually, I think I found this in a video about the House of the Dragon and the set designer. And it's just brilliant because, of course, they're working on world building stuff. So yeah, of course, we should always try and take inspiration from places outside of just the TTRPG or RPG world building parts of YouTube. We can always find inspiration in anywhere if we just keep our mind open towards it. But yeah, climate, economy, and color palette, these each affect the village and helps create believability. The climate is the environment and surrounding area. A fishing village should be placed by the seaside rather than in a desert where there is no fish to be found, for example. Economy is how much money is in the city or in its citizens, and that can influence how the buildings will look, how much infrastructure there is in terms of roads and facilities. There is a visible difference between a town where all citizens are benefiting from a thriving economy or a town where one person controls all of the wealth and the rest of the village kind of just lives in squalor. For color palette, I believe it's just as important as climate and economy. Color palettes are influenced by the environment, like what materials are in the area that are used to build with. If there are relationships with other towns and they can receive imports of materials, and also it can give citizens a cultural identity with the town. If the climate is cold, the color palette can be more blues and whites. Warm climates tend to have bright colors and they can be reflections of the natural flora, for example. It creates diversity and memorability for each town as well. Continuing on with the G.U.A.R.D.S method, we have government structures, and that can be a town hall. I'm always trying to think a little bit more than just a town hall and a jail about government structures, because yes, there is a town hall, there's also parliament buildings, federal buildings, central banks, libraries, sanitation. There is jail, which is rehabilitation or correctional. There's also transportation. And since government buildings are put into place through a democratic process, the character and style of the building can be a reflection of the character the government represents at the time of construction. They can also be built in symbolic ways to portray power and permanence. I read somewhere that, for example, columns equals permanence and order, domes equals reach and vision, and scale equals authority. There's a psychology to it, how it's supposed to make you feel, and that is a very intentional thing, especially when it comes to building government structures within the world you are building. So altar is the last part in the G.U.A.R.D.S method, and that is to build an altar. I also think adding myths, folklore, rumors, and gossip is a perfect way to mix in the underworld and the altar or religious world within your village. But we might save that for another video. I had a lot of fun making this, so I will leave it at this for now. I hope that you got a lot of information, and thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.